There was a revealing post in the welter of reaction that followed the all-too-predictable dismissal of the chief prosecutor Karim Khan by the International Criminal Court on Friday. It was made by Israel's ambassador to the UN, Danny Danon, who warned the newly appointed mayor of New York, Zohran Mamdani. Mamdani had just called the Israeli Prime Minister a war criminal who should be arrested as he arrives for Lindsey Graham's funeral and to meet Donald Trump. Danon repeated the claim that now appears to be established as fact that Khan used the warrants against Netanyahu and his former defense secretary to cover up his alleged sexual misdemeanors. As our investigations made clear, Khan launched the warrants 6 weeks before he was aware of the allegations. But truth and due process are irrelevant in the 18-month campaign to remove him. Danon threatened Mamdani with the same fate as Khan. He said, "Mayor Zohran Mamdani, take note. Using Israel as a political weapon will not shield you from accountability," Danon posted. In the past, Israel operated quite effectively behind the scenes. When they attempted to pressurize Khan's predecessor as chief prosecutor, Fatou Bensouda, they did so discreetly. It was done in a New York hotel during a UN General Assembly, and the Mossad chief, Yossi Cohen, was really quite friendly. But this campaign to remove Khan set a new precedent. Israel claimed ownership from the start and made no attempt to conceal from Khan himself or the outside world that it was behind these allegations. It sent a Mossad team to The Hague, where Khan lives, to intimidate him. It passed messages through one British lawyer to Khan, although the lawyer claimed to Middle East Eye he was only speaking personally. An anonymous channel opened up detailing all the allegations. Finally, Netanyahu himself revealed 4 other women prepared to testify against Khan. This was hours before The Guardian claimed there was a second woman about to come forward. Nothing further came of Netanyahu's women. Khan stuck to his guns and to his belief that the International Criminal Court, of all courts, would respect due process. The latter may have been badly misplaced. The allegations against Khan were investigated for over a year by the Office of Internal Oversight Services, the OIOS. It made 137 findings, not one of which amounted to misconduct, let alone sexual misconduct. The evidence gathered by the OIOS was then meticulously reviewed by a panel of 3 senior international judges appointed by the ASP. This judicial panel decided that the OIOS findings do not establish misconduct or breach of duty by Khan. They were using the same standards of evidence that the ICC itself used. There then began a campaign by the ASP itself to sabotage the report made by the judges they themselves had appointed. Just imagine the response of Western governments had it been the Russian President Vladimir Putin, against whom Khan also issued an arrest warrant, who had done the same thing as Netanyahu did to pressurize member states of the ICC. But it was even worse than that. To sack Khan, the Bureau of the Assembly of State Parties, the court's governing body, had to deny him and his lawyers due process, or indeed any process at all. Individual members of this new kangaroo court thought nothing about having a private chat with a complainant, like the Vice President Margareta Kasangana, a Polish diplomat. In their vote to suspend Khan, the Bureau found he had committed serious misconduct. The decision accused Khan of having engaged in a sexual relationship with a complainant, which was improper due to the power imbalance between them. But this allegation had never been put to Khan. He had been firstly accused of touching the complainant, then rape, but never having a consensual sexual relationship. The complainant's own account centered on non-consensual conduct. The Bureau sacked him on a basis of a charge they'd never put to him. Just to make sure the public hanging of the chief prosecutor would go ahead on schedule, the Bureau amended the voting process from a 2-stage vote to a single vote in a manner that would deny the ASP the opportunity to make its own characterization of the alleged misconduct. The campaign to remove Khan divided observers into 3 camps: those who thought he was innocent, those who thought he was guilty and using the warrants as a cover, and a group in between who believed that Khan was not a credible prosecutor, even though the warrants he produced were. They told everyone that Khan's removal would free the court to do its business and push ahead with the warrants. This was the view of Kenneth Roth, former director of Human Rights Watch. Roth said that as the warrants were the work of a team of prosecutors and approved by 3 judges in the pre-trial chamber, they should go ahead. The ICC's Office of the Prosecutor did indeed vow to continue without interruption after Khan's dismissal was announced. But as we reported in April, the applications for arrest warrants for the Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich and the National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir were ready before Khan went on leave in May last year, and nothing has happened since. The original warrants against Netanyahu and Gallant, his defense minister, remain in force, and only judges can withdraw them. Israel has mounted a series of legal challenges, 2 of which are still pending. Israel is arguing the court has no jurisdiction over its nationals, as it is not a state party to the Rome Statute. This issue has been bounced back and forth between the appeals court and a lower court, and the final answer could come as late as next year. We know that in one of the many attempts to get Khan to back down, he was offered the option of reclassifying the warrants as confidential, which would allow Israel the opportunity of contesting them in private. So what chance do the warrants against Netanyahu and his former defense minister Yoav Gallant have of going ahead? Those in the forefront of the campaign to get rid of Khan are now crowing that they want more scalps. Chief among them is the US State Department itself. Its spokesman, Tommy Pigott, said Khan was only one small cog in an irredeemably corrupt institution, and dismissing him would have no impact on US plans to dismantle the court. Empowered by Khan's removal, prominent pro-Israeli lawyers are now openly threatening other targets, such as Francesca Albanese, the United Nations Special Rapporteur on the occupied Palestinian territories. Hillel Neuer, director of UN Watch, posted, "No more immunity for international officials who abuse their offices. ICC prosecutor Karim Khan sexually abused his employees. Our campaign to remove him succeeded. He's just been fired. You're next, Francesca Albanese. Your support for Hamas terrorism will have consequences." Note the word our. But of course, on this point, Neuer was being only too accurate. The Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon Saar played an active role in the decision of member states of the ICC to dismiss Khan. Saar oversaw a dedicated task force and employed intensive diplomatic efforts aimed at securing Khan's removal from office, according to Guy Azriel, diplomatic correspondent for I24 News. By joining the campaign to remove Khan, Roth has not protected the ICC or fellow human rights lawyers against this sort of abuse and attack. He has further imperiled the court and all human rights activists Israel doesn't like. Tellingly, on the same day of Khan's dismissal, the UN voted to give Austrian lawyer Volker Turk another 4 years term as human rights chief. Israel ignored this setback and put no discernible effort into countering it. This is because it knows that what the UN does is more or less irrelevant, but what Karim Khan did had force. It was the most important international threat to Israel since it launched its genocide on Gaza. That is why Khan had to be got rid of. But Israel is fighting a losing battle. Mamdani's video condemning Netanyahu as a war criminal ratcheted up over 200 million views. After Khan's dismissal, YouGov asked the US adults whether US authorities should arrest Netanyahu when he comes next. 46% said yes, 28% said no, and 25% didn't know. The day after, the London Mayor Sadiq Khan said that Netanyahu was a war criminal and was not welcome in London. This is the legacy of a stubborn British prosecutor who refused to be intimidated. The member states of the ICC have failed the test of upholding international justice. The late Lindsey Graham was right when he said that the ICC was only for Africans and thugs, because when they came under pressure, the member states of the ICC buckled, and unfortunately that includes the Global South. They were in good company. A British prosecutor was also thrown to the wolves by Britain itself. David Cameron, when serving as Britain's Conservative Foreign Secretary, worked to undermine Khan's Israel investigation. But Keir Starmer's Labour, despite publicly supporting the ICC, resisted calls by his own MPs to investigate Cameron's attempt to threaten Khan. The Starmer government then told Khan before the removal vote that it would not back him as prosecutor, although officials had not examined the actual evidence against him. Unless Andy Burnham dramatically changed the policy in the week before the vote, Britain has been fully complicit in Khan's ousting. Whatever now happens to Khan, his name will be linked forever to the ICC arrest warrants against Netanyahu and Gallant, which remain the most effective, serious and meaningful response the international community has made to the genocide in Gaza. Those warrants expose Israeli war crimes as never before, and for the first time ever in this conflict, it makes the highest office bearers in the land accountable for them. Khan dared to stand up against the mighty and the powerful to pursue justice for the victims, and that will be his true legacy.